Welcome to Our Voices. Today I have a special guest with me. He is running for United States Congress. He is Lacy Watson, but his government name is Eugene Lacy Watson.
Yes, sir.
Lacy,
Yes.
how you doing, man?
Doing well, doing very well, Ray. Glad to be here. Glad
All
to
right.
participate. Yeah, just ready to get down in this conversation.
All right. Hey, man, thank you for coming on. Again, it's an honor to meet and greet you. Like I said, you and I, we met last week.
Mhm.
You met some students and everything. You talk with them, let them know what you were about. I think that's a wonderful idea to get out in the public and let the young folks know that you're running for office.
Absolutely.
Now,
So yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So you were mentioning the Rock the Vote event at South Charleston High School that I met you at, and I was lucky to participate in another Rock the Vote event in Capitol High School. So I'm just happy to see that the high schools are civically engaged and ready to cast their ballots come primary and the general election.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time that they're doing this now. Really get the young folks engaged in civics and learn the political process.
Yes, sir.
Lacy, before I get to my questions, please tell the audience something about Lacy Watson.
Yeah, so a brief intro. I am born and raised in Bluefield, West Virginia. I graduated Concord College in 1999. I graduated from Nova Southeastern with my master's degree in psychology. Just to back up, I got my bachelor's in biology from Concord. And right now, I'm currently working on my PhD in planning, governance, and globalization at Virginia Tech. I am the eldest of three children, and my younger brother, he is an attorney in California, and my sister, she works for the FDA in Washington, D.C. My mom and dad are happily retired now. My dad is the pastor of First Baptist Norfolk in Norfolk, West Virginia, and my mother is a retired school teacher. She was teaching, I think, 42, 43 years in the West Virginia public school system. I'm also a lay member, a lay servant with the United Methodist Church. I've been a lay servant, I want to say, for the past 7 or 8 years. Outside of that, I am a runner. I love to sprint, and being civically engaged, being in my community is just part of who I am. I'm a people person, and just being part of the community, making sure that our community is moving forward. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing as far as me being an engaged West Virginia citizen. Moving forward from there, the main reasons why I'm running is to represent the values and the interests of working families in West Virginia. Just to define working families a little bit, those are all those in West Virginia that do not use means to avoid their fair share of taxes. So if I can preface that, last week I heard in a report that the United States is losing roughly 500 to 600 billion dollars due to unpaid taxes. So I believe all of those individuals that can categorize themselves within that domain would not be considered a working family. So working families that I've interacted with throughout the district have really said 3 key things that have resonated with me, and I believe resonate on the national level when it comes to issues and concerns. And those 3 issues are broadband access. Second to that would be, again, corruption and combating corruption in all its form. And then finally, after that, clean water, clean air. So those are the 3 issues that I've heard constantly, throughout my conversations in the first district.
Lacy, I'm going to get into some tough questions here.
Sure.
We know that you are trying to unseat Carol Miller, and she, she is a diehard Trump supporter. And so some folks may look at it as, yes, you do have an uphill battle to climb. My first question to you, Lacy, and you know that when it comes to political ads, there will be some negative ads and everything.
Mhm.
My first question to you is, are you pro Second Amendment?
Of course, I am very pro Second Amendment. And for all that don't know what Second Amendment is, that's pro guns. If you support having guns, having the free right and ability to access guns. So I am pro Second Amendment.
Now, also, another issue about abortion, because again, what I'm bringing to you, I mean, again, it's going to be brought up in your face,
Yeah.
or it may be an attack on you. So, I mean, here's your platform right here to speak, to say what's on your mind as far as these issues. What are your thoughts on abortion?
Well, my thoughts on abortion is this. I am pro women's health. With that statement, that means I support the right of the woman to choose whatever medical intervention is appropriate for her and her family. Leading past that point to where I believe Republicans want to draw some kind of distinction between my candidacy and the Republican candidacy would be a non-issue for the simple fact that I am pro whole life. Republicans and conservatives, they are pro-life, and I don't deny that thought process. But what I do say is that we need to be more vigilant about being in the person's life after they are conceived. Therefore, we need social support systems that can help that mother and that father raise a productive child. Now, to simply be concerned about conception and the life of the individual at its start is good. But what we need to do is to ensure that life is supported throughout its entire lifetime. Therefore, we need to make sure that we have social supports that ensure those possibilities. So I don't see any distinctions in what the pro-lifers, what the conservative Republicans want to achieve in ensuring that all life matters. But what I do say is that we need to ensure that these programs and these opportunities are available to make the individual the best that they can be. So again, there's no distinction between my candidacy and the Republican candidacy in regards to being pro-life or pro-choice. We need to take care of the entire individual from conception through the grave.
Lacy, one other hot topic nationwide that is taking place is the CRT theory. What are your thoughts on that, and where do you stand on that?
My thoughts on critical race theory. Simply put, critical race theory is an agenda meant for instructing law students as they begin their careers as professionals with their Juris Doctorate. When we take concepts that were intended for higher level thoughts and thinking and debate, and we trivialize it and minimize it and place it on a level of public debate that doesn't really do the topic issue, we run into problems. And these are the problems that we see today, not only within the state of West Virginia, but the state of Virginia as well, and across our nation. One thing that we have to do as American citizens, as professionals in whatever category we say our occupation lies in, is to be aware and fully conscious of our history. To deny our history in any way, shape, or form would be to deny our own identity and our own humanity. We have to understand that people aren't perfect. No nation has ever been built using perfect measures or means or people. When we talk about the history of the United States, there's no shame in us speaking out honestly about the issue of slavery, about the causes of our Civil War and the collateral outcomes that have transpired since then. When we have leadership that denies history or the accurate or the honest retelling of history, then we have to ask ourselves as a collective unit, as a society, what are we really prepared to deal with? I think a lot of times we overlook the fundamental, and I'm going to go back to a religious slant, if I may, go back to a biblical teaching, in that a majority of West Virginians, and the ones that I've ran across through my talks in the district, are all Christians in some way, shape, or form. Not all of them, but a majority of them are. And I relate to them from this fundamental cornerstone of understanding. And from this fundamental cornerstone of understanding, and we ask ourselves, what is the greatest law that the Bible says we must obey? It's one, and that is to love the Lord God with all your heart, your mind, and all your strength. And then the second part after that comma is what? To love your neighbor as yourself. So when we talk about critical race theory and we talk about the history of the United States, I like to focus my conversations with the individuals in the district. I'll frame it, and I do frame it through that Christian perspective. And once we start from that perspective, I believe a lot of the issues that we see that are so divisive when it comes to political parties are not so divisive when we come to mutual understandings and mutual agreements of human nature, of forgiveness, and of an accurate retelling of our history. So critical race theory for me isn't an issue that will divide this district any further. My campaign won't make critical race theory the dividing line between, can you vote for a candidate that supports working families or a candidate that stands by the true meaning and the true essence of critical race theory. Could you, can we pause? Is it or is it straight through? Is there editing?
No, I really can't do the editing right now.
No problem, because I was just distracted. There was somebody that was trying to talk to me, and they just distracted me, and I didn't really get a chance to flesh out my entire answer.
Oh, but go ahead. You're all right. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something in particular? Because okay, I just all right. Sorry about that, Ray.
Okay.
Yeah, so but that's where I stand with, critical race theory.
Okay. Now, another hot topic,
Hmm.
something that the Republican Party is attacking Democrats on. We talked, you give me your opinion on CRT. You
Hmm.
told me you are pro amendment, you're pro Second Amendment.
Hmm.
We talked about abortion.
Hmm.
What about police reform?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Let's go back to the history of policing in the United States. When we look at the history of police, we have seen that they have evolved as a result of the enslavement of African Americans, of Black people in this country. Not only Black people, but American Indians, Mexican Americans, and um, indigenous people, wherever they may be. So when we when we discuss police reform, we have to understand the sides of both sides of the coin. So on the one side, you have those that are being policed, and you have those that are not being policed, if we could divide it that way. When we look at African American communities, Black communities, minority communities, poor communities in general, we see that these communities have been over policed, under resourced, and undereducated. From that, we have a plethora of problems that we are witnessing right now. I see, to leave this perspective and move to the opposite perspective with those that are not being policed. We have communities again that are boarded off, sanctioned off, walled off, and the instruments of maintaining that wall are the police. We have invested a lot of resources since the 1970s, the 1980s, and leading to the culmination with the Clinton administration's war on drugs that has broken minority families and really put our communities at a devastating and lasting environment that is not going to be beneficial to us politically, economically, or socially. What we need to do is invest in our communities. The one way, the one sure way that we subside crime rates is to educate people. There was a program in the 1980s that they had in the prison systems that actually taught the inmates. They got credit for college classes. They got access to educational opportunities. And what we saw through those measures is less recidivism back into the criminal justice system with that education. So then we need, again, it's as simple, invest in our schools, invest in civic opportunities for educational advancement, for public opportunities for educational advancement. And once we do that, we will see drops in our rates of crime. When we bring in more opportunities, business opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities for these low disadvantaged communities, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, we bring in opportunities, we will see a less need for policing within our communities. We see over policing in our communities because why? There's poverty, there's rampant drug use and availability, which isn't seen in other communities. The only thing that we have at odds here in the United States is a lack of funding, appropriate funding in the right direction. We have funding going to our communities, but that funding is going to the police in order to protect them from us even more. So I say examples of this: the flak jackets and the, heavy artillery that they carry, as far as guns and, the tanks that they have rolling through our cities now. We can use that money, those resources, for educational opportunities, again, for economic opportunities that will do far more better things, positive things for our community than having just stronger police units. Not to say that the police isn't a necessary element to the safety of our communities, but there's a measured level of policing. We have to understand that, and that gung-ho mentality of, the police are, fighting this domestic terror, on Black and brown people that are engaged in, criminal activity is blown way over proportion. I know we have major cities, with issues like this, but
Yeah.
this doesn't really occur in West Virginia, and we don't need those types of resources. We need to invest in our community.
Lacy, West Virginia has the highest drug overdose rate.
Mhm.
And your opponent, Carol Miller, has she done anything to try to solve this problem?
From what I've heard from the constituents, no. There hasn't been anything that she's done as far as a policy or as far as community engagement has been, voiced to me in regards to her impact. But the one thing that I do know for myself, as having my master's in mental health counseling and understanding the impact of SUD, substance use disorder, on the individual and on the community itself, one thing that we need to do is to have more peer recovery specialists. Peer recovery specialists are individuals who have suffered from SUD addiction in their past, and they will have been able to overcome those issues, and now they have tools and skills that are applicable to helping those that are suffering addiction right now. So number one thing that I would do is increase the number of peer recovery specialists that we have within the state. After that, I would also increase the number of long-term housing that we have for these individuals that are suffering with addiction and are transitioning out of that addiction. Housing insecurity is the number one perpetuator of addiction. All right. So not having a house, not having adequate housing perpetuates individuals' addictions. So again, having federal housing dollars come in to specifically address the needs of our individuals would be number two. Followed by, and the last piece is moving those individuals. There's a program, and it's been implemented in parts of Huntington. I don't know if it's still active, but it's the LEAD project. And this LEAD project is an intervention that moves individuals from the criminal justice system. So moving them from being arrested to having their appropriate needs met in a facility. So instead of perpetuating, their arrest record, putting them through unnecessary financial burden with the criminal justice system, they can be routed to the appropriate medical facility, health facility that can truly treat their addiction. So those would be the three things that I would do that Ms. Miller hasn't done as it pertains to the SUD community in Southern West Virginia.
Okay, and when you mention Southern West Virginia, we're talking Bluefield, we're talking Princeton, we're talking McDowell County, and you mentioned Huntington as well.
Yes, Huntington as well.
And
Huntington,
And that area, that bottom part is considered as District 3, correct?
Yes, this is District 1 now. It was District 3, but
Okay,
now it's District 2.
because of the redistricting, the maps and everything?
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay.
District 1 extends all the way from Huntington and includes Charleston now, Braxton counties, and Gilmer County, all the way to Greenbrier counties on the far east of the state. So yeah, so it's a very large district, 600,000 people now we have in our district.
Okay, okay. Lacy, we're gonna talk about some of the things that Ms. Miller has stood behind.
Okay.
One of the bills was she supported Donald Trump in withholding $400 million to Ukraine. And we all know about the attacks, the war going on right now in Ukraine. And the U.S., the Biden administration has sent millions of dollars and artillery and everything to help them combat Putin's army. Share some thoughts on that as far as her support for withholding the money.
Absolutely. I believe that particular action by Ms. Miller was totally political and without any forethought to the future of the Ukrainian people, nor to the administration that's trying to, preside over governance. To have party politics play such a huge role in our international aid is truly a travesty for the United States as a nation, and our example to the international community as a whole. Withholding any money, withholding any good from any citizen, both internationally or domestically, goes against the ethos that the United States has built for itself by being so welcoming in our history to everyone, regardless of your nationality. Therefore, Trump's actions and Mrs. Miller's co-signature to those actions are just another example of the partisan politics that further divide our nation and our world, and truly prohibits us from moving forward and tackling the issues that truly matter, such as climate change and ensuring adequate educational opportunities for our youth.
Lacy, HR Bill 55, the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act.
A long time coming.
Yeah, a long time coming, finally. However, Ms. Miller voted against it. Your thoughts?
And that's, again, really sad. And it's sad on many different levels. I had a chance to speak with Ms. Miller at the Beckley Chamber of Commerce breakfast we had last week, and she mentioned to me that she was a teacher. She taught for a number of years. I think it was in the public school system, or it may have been at the university level. I'm not so sure, but she expressed that she was a teacher, and knowing that background with her and seeing how she voted against a bill that just goes to the basic equalization of all American citizens is truly, truly troubling. It truly is troubling. I don't understand personally why she would do that. I'm sure she has her reasons besides purely supporting the Republican agenda as it pertains to that matter. But for any individual, Democrat or Republican, to not support a bill that has been so earnestly needed in our country, since the abolition of slavery is again, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling to have, professionals, well-educated people espouse, ideals of equality and kinship and brotherly love on the one hand, but still on the second hand, deny the ability for protections of a an historically vulnerable population of people, Black people. And that's sad. So again, I asked the people of West Virginia to really question their leadership and question, are these actions that Carol Miller illustrates beneficial to them and their development? And when we look at it, no, it's not. The same bills that they think help Black people actually help poor whites just as much. And there's this idea that, if you support issues that relate to minorities, then you are, somewhat not a true or full American, because we have seen some Republicans sign on to the deal, but, we've seen a lot that haven't. That just shows the level of understanding, I believe, and the level of honest communication that they're having with themselves internally and with their constituents.
Lacy, HR4, HR4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Again,
She voted no. I mean, and I believe it eventually passed through the House.
mm-hmm.
And of course, we're dealing with the filibuster in the Senate, and West Virginia's very own Joe Manchin. He's not going to vote to take down the filibuster, but still,
this is another.
She voted no on the Voting Rights Act. I mean, why? I mean,
I totally agree, and it's just, to me, another extension of her not voting for the Emmett Till bill. So again, it comes down to, I believe, Ms. Miller not being really engaged with the citizens that reside in the district, and she's making policy decisions that a majority of our citizens don't agree with. And if she's doing so, she needs to be removed from office. The working people of West Virginia understand the importance of voting. They understand the importance of expanding voting rights. They understand the importance of protecting our elections. We can do so. And the John Lewis bill is just one step in protecting those fundamental rights that we have as citizens. Therefore, if we are doing anything to undermine our voting system by denying citizens the right to vote, then we truly have to ask ourselves, is this the representative that we need to have for this time and place in West Virginia's history?
Lacy, HR Bill 1443, the LGBTQ Business Equal Credit Enforcement and Investment Act.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's just for her to vote against it. I talked with someone about this particular bill right here. And that person said, it's just straight up homophobia on Ms. Miller's part.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do you think?
You know what? I look at it from a business perspective. I look at it from the economic perspective. We know that diversity in capitalism means you make more money. Therefore, the larger range of people that you have coming to, let's just use Miss Miller's car dealership. The larger range of people that you have coming to Miss Miller's car dealership will increase her profits. Therefore, we need to ensure that all individuals have access to economic opportunities, social opportunities, and political opportunities that will increase their advancement. Capitalism only works one way, and that is the expansion of our system, that capitalistic system. We cannot expand the system by cutting off all of the different individuals that make our society, period, point blank. So not even getting into Mrs. Miller's personal opinions, but just looking at it from a business side. She's cutting off her nose to spite her face. And I just don't agree with that. Diversity is the largest driver of economic revenue for our individual families. Therefore, we need to expand that and ensure that all individuals have access to a living wage so that they can contribute to the GDP of our nation, and on just a smaller scale, contribute to the benefit and the expansion of their own households.
One last question. HR Bill 3233, the National Commission to investigate the January 6th insurrection.
Mhm.
And Ms. Miller voted no.
I know. And that's troubling as well. And it just goes along with the line of mistakes that she's made as far as policy is concerned. January 6th was a dream for me. I did not know that day, watching CNN, that those events would take place. You know, I started watching CNN, I think 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock that morning throughout the day, just to see the events as they unfolded. It was really shocking. Those individuals that took the liberty to break artifacts, to bust in doors, to trespass on federal property, need to be punished with the full extent of the law. Full stop. There's no excuse in American politics right now that would justify any individual or groups of individuals the capacity or the audacity to trespass on a federal proceeding in the hopes of reversing an election that was investigated, on the federal and on the many state levels, and we haven't seen any corruption or fraud that would substantiate the former president's claims. For us to deny the fact that laws have been broken and to see the lawlessness witnessed on camera and to deny what actually took place is disheartening, it's troubling, and it's a real cause for alarm with us in the community that have a voice that can speak out against these injustices, these misconceptions, these lies. And I'm glad you have a program, Ray, that highlights these inequities Because again, when we look at what took place on January 6th and we see the attempt to break our Constitution, our rule of law, then measures have to be taken against those individuals to make an example so that future people or groups of individuals will not attempt such actions again. Period.
Lacy, I'm done.
Mm.
I'm done.
Okay.
Now, before I let you go, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Tell the people why they should vote for Lacy Watson. You ready? I'm going to give you 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right. And go.
My name is Lacy Watson, and I'm running for Congress in the 1st District. I believe the people of West Virginia should vote for me because I truly represent the values and the interests of working families. Working families are the major economic drivers, not only of our state, but of the entire nation. Ensuring that these families have access to the political, economic, and social resources that our state and our nation provides is my ultimate job. I'm imploring those individuals that are Democrat, Republican, and Independent to look up my campaign, follow my campaign, listen to my messaging. I'm sure that the message that I'm bringing to you is a message of unity, is a message of wholeness, and a message of moving West Virginia forward. I'm here to serve you, to be your voice in Congress. Remember, your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. My name is Lacy Watson, and I sincerely hope that you vote for me in the primaries and in the general election. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And how can folks donate to your campaign?
Yes, you can go to my website at votelacy.com, www.votelacy.com. There you can see my ActBlue, and you can donate through that secured ActBlue profile.
All right. Lacy Watson, I thank you very much for calling Our Voices. You take care and be safe, okay?
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time.
All right, don't go anywhere. Hold on.